just gonna do that. Sure, right?
Yeah, that's all right.
Because we often speak about the best conversations we have are when we meet people and it's not on air. No one's recording it. People are missing out on it. And just as we were getting started,
yeah,
and these two handsome men appeared.
Yeah.
So, and sponsored the show.
Come on.
Your corporate sponsor
We
showed
heard
up.
a few words and we were like, you know what you're saying is meaningful, so here you go.
Absolutely. That's
What's
how
up, gents?
business.
Well, thanks for making the space, creating in the moment, you know? Because all plans are just plans, right?
Yeah.
Until they aren't plans and you can just create a new one.
Absolutely.
Here we
So when did this plan start for this product?
Oh, that was a nice segue. Well played, sir. So this happened about probably just like lockdown. Yeah, as most businesses are kind of incepted about at this time and age. It happened in lockdown. So I was an auctioneer and saw the lockdown happening, and I was like, this will happen again. This is like they've got this sorted, and they'll keep this rhythm happening throughout life. So I was like, well, you've got to keep earning. You've got to be able to be online. You know, you've got to have that presence, because what I was doing is I had to still be in front of people. And so that kind of limited my aspect. And so Ryan and I met, we're doing our rebirthing breathwork training together. Cool. And so we went deep into all of our own self, you know, like it was, we'll talk about that later if you want. But I was like, what can I put in the world? What can we create? And how do I merge breathwork in, and how do I do all these different things? And then it was like a supplement just dropped in. And then I was like, oh, Ryan's a naturopath. Let's call him. So I literally called him up and I said, bro, what are you doing? Do you want to create a supplement together? And he's like, that was on my 5-year plan. Fuck yeah, let's do it now.
That's the one.
Forward.
Yeah.
So we literally flew down that weekend, and we spent that weekend together just spitballing, like, how are we going to do this? What's this going to be? Yeah. And actually the first thing that we did, even before we started thinking about like what products we were going to create, it was actually, okay, what values are we going to work from?
Yeah.
And we created the 4 core values, and then essentially Beta's just grown from that.
Wow.
And that's the beauty of it. Like Beta, it's a word that means nothing to no one and everything to us, because it's literally the suburb that me and Mike met, and it's the suburb that we went through our rebirthing breathwork training. Yeah. So we get it all the time. We're actually at an expo in Hamilton on the weekend, and we had this guy come up to us, and he was like, where'd you get the name Beta from? We're like, it's a suburb in Hamilton. He's like, no way. He's like, I live there. I live in that suburb.
That's crazy.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Do you know, when I first heard it, I actually heard is it beta or beta? You know, B-E-T-A.
Beta.
Yeah. That's kind of brain connected type stuff, eh?
Yeah.
Had you guys kind of
Like, did you think about that? Because I had the exact same thing.
I think the alternative is that we're not beta at all, realistically.
Yeah.
Because you can alpha males.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's the oxymoron. But beta, but people come like, it's beta. You know, it could be beta for you. You know, I don't know. But it's just one of those things. And like when you look at it on a psychological level, when you're creating a business name, something with 5 letters and 1 syllable, it's easy to remember too. You know, it's like the easiest memory to come up with a business name. So anyway, but that's where that incepted from. And since then, we actually started out, we were going to do a nootropic chewing gum. So we went through this whole process of doing a nootropic chewing gum. So we actually did some market research. We went right through the process of, we're going to call it FICE. F-I-C-E. So it's going to be focus, immunity, calm, and energy. Yeah. And we're going to have different nootropics in the chewing gum. But we went down the path of trying to get the formula. Well, Ryan was doing the formulations, but we went to go try and work out manufacturing and realize there's no machine in the country. You would go spend $100,000 just on creating the machine just for that. And so we kind of then put that to a side and gone, okay, well, we can't do that. Let's now take that and put it into a herbal supplement, a powdered supplement. That's how we got this. Yeah.
I'm really in, because Joe and I were talking, we were on a flight back from a workshop yesterday. We've done 3 workshops in a row, you know, and it's all our time, and we've got to be there, and you get to the end of the day and just you're smashed. And we were like, it'd be so cool to have a product, you know, something that it's not us, it's just a brand, and we get our fun and see it grow. And we were like, but I wonder what kind of investment you need. Yeah. How do you actually get something from being here to there? And we imagined you just need so much money to get it to the very first stage.
For sure.
Is that what you need?
Huge. You need 2 years, probably 600 hours of research into the product, and a couple $100,000. You got to knock on a lot of people's doors. It's a really, really hard industry to break into because it is extremely competitive.
Yeah.
And actually only one out of 10 supplement companies actually make it to their second order. So that's why you see a lot of companies pop up and disappear. Wow. It's just such a competitive market.
Yeah.
So to sort of go through that process and try to get contract manufacturers and figure out how to procure ingredients yourself, there's so many moving parts. It's such a big aspect.
Ryan obviously did the formulations himself, so that saved us. But if you go into this game with absolutely nothing, you rely on a contract manufacturer or a pharmaceutical aid to put the formulation together for you, then it's an extra cost you've got to go through that.
Right.
And most health and well-being companies out there, that's how they run. It's run as a marketing company rather than a product-first company. So that's why they will be fairy dust, most of it. You know, like there's not a lot of stuff in it.
For sure.
And that's what you ultimately find at the supermarket. We're running through that program right now that we're understanding all the ins and outs of the supermarket model. And so this is why you can't find products like ours in there that are good, because the numbers and the margins don't work. So that's unfortunate. But outside of that, you know, we're just going to keep going with what we're doing and keep it premium and go product first. But yeah, man, it's a lot of patience is built, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that before, right? Like whenever you're trying to build something and it's like longevity, it's over a period of time. There's something, we were talking to Monique about it before earlier, which was like, maybe you don't get the results straight away, or like we were actually talking about like sometimes when you're kind to people, right? Like just take it to that fundamental level, looking after people, being kind to people, giving value to people up front. I'm a big believer on that stuff. Like just give value first and let's see what comes back in play. And I think that you learn things along the process and so on. But isn't it amazing, like through, and I guess one of the questions around this is like how have you found that process? You have this idea, you have this thing, you have this vision, you've worked out your values, you're starting to create value and build value and everything like that. And what's it sort of been like for you guys? And did you guys always know you were going to be entrepreneurs or business owners since you were kids? Or was this just always in you?
Nah, I don't think so from kids, but definitely as I started to get older, I stepped away from working. So before I was a naturopath, I actually worked as an engineer. I went back to being an engineer for a year and a half just to make a little bit of extra coin to throw it into this recently. But it's like I guess the entrepreneurial spirit was like birthed within me. It wasn't something that was naturally there. Like I used to have friends that would be like selling things and they used to do like phone covers and shoes and things like that when we were at school. I never really had an interest in it, but it hasn't been until I started to grow that I've been like, that's actually really fun to just like pursue the creation of something on your own. And it's a lot of work. You know, one of our values is communitas. Like that's the first value. So everything you were talking about there, where it's about like starting from kindness, how can we offer and just give so much to people that it's more like they're obliged to buy the products because they support us. They believe in Beta, they believe in the community. And that's something that we've done since day dot. Like even before we released the products, me and Mike were holding free breathwork sessions. We have something called a state change program where we literally run people through a 4-week coaching program for free. And we've done that 7 times over the last 2 years. Cool. And it'll always be free. You know, so we just educate people on physical, mental, emotional, and energetic well-being. So it's like we're teaching the tools that are going to help them really make the steps and the change. And it's like the supplements are just a supplement of that.
It's a doorway,
It's a doorway. It's a doorway because if we just offered a free coaching program to people, no one would sign up. But because they've like purchased the product, they're like, I'm going to also join that program so I can learn a few different things about myself.
I remember mentor Martin always talking about like exceeding expectations, and it's easy to just tick a box. But if we just tick a box, we don't see the community. We don't see the ability to connect, and we don't create that point of difference. But when we create that experience, we tap into people's heart. And we love. And so I really love that you guys started with let's create some values and build a business out from that, rather than go, let's create some money and realize that we've got to have some values to tick some boxes. So how did those values kind of guide the whole process?
Oh man, like everything. So it's communitas, authenticity, and impact, and innovation. So all of them. I mean, so we were talking about this ourselves the other day, actually, and we've done a few podcasts on it. So for me, or for us, like our entrepreneurialism, our business, and our everything is a reflection of our inner world, it's our mirroring out into the world, but in reverse paradigm, right? So how can we? Because this is where you can make change within the conscious structure of the world. It's through business. That's the matrix we live in right now, right? It's like great, so. Underlying all that is a huge personal development process for ourselves, like as I don't know who said the quote, it says, entrepreneurialism is personal development in disguise, right? And that's ultimately everything. That's it. Sure. That's why if you get a room of people who are entrepreneurial, you've got people who are working on themselves in various forms, and everyone's kind of at a certain level, right?
That's true, yeah.
So the reflection of this business of what we've created is a reflection of us, like with those 4 values, that's, we've gone through, done our own value charts, and they constantly change, but these are the key ingredients of them all, right? And so every decision we make, it goes back to that. We've said no to opportunities early on that would have given us lots of money, but it would have castrated another part of our business. So like, that's not right. When we're creating content, or we're doing podcasts, or we're just trying something new, a new product that we're creating, it's like we're not afraid to fuck up. We're not afraid to fail, because it's authentically us. And that's what we've taught is our own growth method, is in the fuck ups. And we've had a lot, and you're always going to get them. And so, I'll one up your expectation quote. So we actually coach people to drop expectations, because when you have no expectations and you've got no assessment to fail, it's only just the rhythm of what you're trying to create, right? So then failure is just part of the process, and it's easier said than felt. But once you actually get into it, I mean, we could sit here and have wars. We've got war stories up the yin yang, and we're only a year and a half in, but yet we're still here. We're still growing.
We're still grinding.
Yeah, for sure. So the 4 key values are us in a business form, so we can have a bigger reach to people with our breathwork tools, with our coaching, with our powerful supplements that are helping people feel different. Yeah.
See, I feel like I've seen people, we've been sort of in our dental care business now for about 1.5 to 2 years tops. And I feel like kind of similar to you, we never actually wrote down what our values are. So it's probably something we need to go to. But it was like the value was that it was literally watching what others had done. And they went out and sort of like, I'm just going to do this and I'm just going to do that. And you guys would have seen this all before, right? People that are just on a mission. It's almost like Alexander the Great or something. And I'm just going to go and conquer the world. I'm just going to take this over. And they all fall. At some point, they fall. They do fall. And the person or the group or the entity that says, hold on, let's fortify well. Let's understand our platform. Let's understand what we actually stand for. Therefore, what you were saying before, now when hard times hit, we know our values, man. Like, we don't change. And so we had like, it must have been like six weeks ago or so, maybe 8 weeks ago, we had someone that put a bunch of money on the table, and they saw that, our projected growth was going to be this. So let's put some money on the table. But instantly, within a second, it was like, no, because it doesn't line up. It was not, and I know you guys will all understand this, but you can't change that. If you know what you stand for, nothing can shift that. But I've seen people in the industry that definitely they're willing to shift because they never set something deep in, kind of what you mentioned before too, like what sits here, what sits here, what sits deep in here. And I think that is what's going to be incredible for you guys, for everything you've been doing in your business, and that's what's gotten you so everywhere around the world doing incredible things. There's something deeper than it just being business and it just being these transactions. It's got to have purpose, or it's got to have something. Totally. Because otherwise, why are we even doing this?
I think people can smell inauthenticity.
Oh, 100%.
You know when someone's being inauthentically authentic.
Yeah.
When they're trying to force something and not be something that's actually at their core essence. And they're willing to shift and move and pivot and just chase money. Like, there's nothing wrong with chasing money. Like, we have massive aspirations when it comes to financial gains.
Yeah, that's one.
Because we're working really, really hard for it. And we know that the more we can make, the more impact that we can make on the world as well, because it just means that we're able to reach a larger scale.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it in an authentic way with the journey that we're on, it's impossible for us to do that because we mirror each other and we mirror ourselves so often that we just wouldn't allow ourselves to fall into that. You know?
Yeah. I think it's just real quick is I think it's amazing when we connected with you guys just earlier, and the first thing I said was, are you guys brothers? And I'm telling you, that will just go down to your value system at the end of the day and the spending of time together. Do you think that's
big time, man. Honestly, like in the last 5 weeks alone, we would have spent every hour together except the last kind of like 48 hours just because we're on the road. Like we're literally hitting as many cities in New Zealand as possible just to go out and talk to them and get our product out there and all that. And we've been doing that for the last year and a half, and it'll continue right through to next year. I'm just about to book out next year's calendar now, which will be backed every weekend. You know, we finally get a day off like mid-December, you know, which I'm looking forward to, which would be nice. Yeah. But yeah, like it's like the reason why. And it's interesting, actually. I'm just reflecting on this now. So we're in this program called Seed Lab. So Seed Lab is this big, amazing program that we applied to go in for in Australia. Yeah. We got accepted, and we went through the first boot camp, and then you got applied again to the second one. And now we're in the 5-month like mentorship program, and it's all sponsored by Woolworths in Australia. So it's all good. So we made it there. And there's no real business for us to actually be there, but it's because of who we are, right?
Yeah,
and
totally.
it's just it was our pitch video and this and that. But the reason I'm saying that is that the drop in now was actually when you're in these calls, they're all business owners, all by themselves. There's all one person business owners. There's not many people who have got a business partnership. And what I can put it down to is because even in the beginning, like we went into the trenches together for 9 months in our deep rebirthing breathwork training. And so it is uncovering the shadow of the shadow of the shadow of the deep self, right? And so when you've been fully exposed and all of your shame and your past traumas and you've had to flow that and you've got to help each other through it, it's like there's ultimate trust is built. It's ultimate trust in yourself and in someone else, you know? So it's what we call ourselves brother in arms. But, you know, like, man, just like anything else, it's like, you know, we'll have our days where we just fucking hate each other. But we have the tools and capacity to be out in communication aspects to move through that, you know? We're not going to stand there and yell at each other. It's like, it's the aspect of it. But from there you grow to another level. So why that makes sense for you to say that from someone who's just met us. It's like, well, that's why, because we're mirroring each other's deep, what would you say? Deep want for the best of this life experience, you know? It's like, how can you get the biggest life experience that you ever can? And we match each other in that. So it's there's a good sharpening within our masculinity as well, because there's a bit of a competition in there sometimes. It's it's gritty and it's a little bit, but it's like it's just two men just fucking getting at it, you know, and it's great. And then we have our own podcast as well, and so we've got like 89 episodes, and we just drop into those, and there's some fucking out the gate depth that goes in there, and so it's just there, and just knowing someone's got your back, and you know, so that's why this business partnership works so well and it's growing so fast, and it will always continue because we're always doing the work individually on ourselves. Which, you know, you're not trauma bonded to somebody in a business partnership. You went, oh, we're bros, let's get into business, and then you actually get into it and you're like, fuck, this cunt's fucked. Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like,
so true.
I'd love to be like a mosquito in the car on those big car trips, just hearing what you guys are talking about, and having those real conversations, because I suspect from what you've heard, it's not just how are we going to land that sail, it's everything. It's life. It's going a bit deeper way, and that's what we're starting to have. You know, for 20 years, been doing a business by myself, and it's built up and it's done well. But you know, when you start sharing that with someone else, and it's how do we make this flipping awesome? But by the way, how's standing out? How's your wife? Or, you know, I'm about to become a father for the first time.
Come on.
And so Joy's having a lot of chats around, like,
that's right.
How does the position around you feel about the dream and all this stuff? And it's just epic to have that conversation.
Do you know what? I feel like just also, I think that some of our, I don't know about you guys in a vehicle and us in a plane too, right? But I feel like when you're moving and you're traveling, breakthrough takes place. I feel like, so you know what? Sometimes if I'm against the wall of the business and I'm like, how are we going to navigate this thing? Do you know what I always say to myself? Just move, jump in the car. That's my place.
Change the environment.
100%. Change the environment and move. And so, like, for example, tomorrow I'm down to Rotorua, and so moving one of the mobile clinics and everything like that. And I know that tomorrow, usually what happens is there'll be a breakthrough of some sort, and then there'll probably be a phone call that's like unsavory phone call.
Something else.
Do you think it could possibly more that in the drive, it forces you to be present and with yourself?
Dang.
Because that's
a good thing. I never thought about
that's
that.
for me. So when I was an auctioneer, like before I was doing beta full time, I had clients in Tauranga and Hamilton and Rotorua and all the places. I was kind of driving to auctions all the time. Yeah. And what I found in lots of that journey was like, I would just feel amazing at the end of the day. Even though I'd driven 8 hours just to go to one auction, I was like, come back. And I'm like, because I can sit with myself, because your presence can't be anywhere else except driving. Mm-hmm. And so that's the reason I ask, is like, it could be the fact that you are just in the self and you're just like allowing things to process.
Well, so I kind of feel like when I'm in a car and I'm moving, that's when my how do I say? I guess I kind of like solve problems when I'm moving. That's how I tend to solve problems. If I'm sitting, or even if it's a whiteboard or something, if I'm moving and there's something I have to be moving to solve problems. Yeah, totally. And if it means that I'm in a vehicle and I'm just making my way somewhere, and probably like when you're saying like being present, and I'm looking out and I'm taking in things, creation, I'm taking care of
or even
my
just
body.
like I just drive and I'm just like in awe of like, oh, that paddock of green grass and those cows. Like it's look at those mountains. Oh, you know.
And then kind of
gratitude.
Inspires you. That's right. Sure. Gratitude inspires. And then weirdly enough, it's a breakthrough. Or then a phone call happens. And then it's like, hey, and I'm like, I'll take that phone call. And again, I'll say sometimes it's not, maybe it'll be the one that you didn't want. Sometimes it's the absolute breakthrough that you were looking for. But it happens when I move. But if I choose to sit down and stay in a place of just like you guys know what I'm talking about. I can already see it. Like if I sit there, which I think most people do. Yeah. Oh, well, I guess I'll be a victim of the thing. Yeah. Then it's like, you'll stay a victim. Yeah, for sure. But if I move, if I just start the car, if I get out of that driveway and I get on a road, for me,
and you can look at that from so many different aspects, because it's like all you're doing is ruminating in the energy of what was if you're just sitting there and doing nothing about it. Also, when we either travel a car or walk, there's a specific process that happens in the brain. They actually use it in something called rapid eye movement therapy, or EMDR, where naturally your eyes shift left and right. So they do this form of therapy where they get you to move your eyes, shift left and right, and it helps you access different parts of your subconscious, and it helps you to like literally change your state. Like they use it for trauma therapy. So that was discovered when someone was actually walking, because there's like movement, motion, and your eyes moving side to side. So the exact same thing would happen when you're driving. So it's like you're able to access a different part of your own state and consciousness because your eyes are moving side to side and accessing a different part of your brain.
So what do you think happens then? So we're going to like a little bit of a rabbit hole here.
Let's go.
Let's go. Just a question. So, I'm in a vehicle. I'm on my way, say tomorrow, right? So I'm going down the line, couple hour drive, right? Thank you to the Waikato Expressway. It's so good.
It's a long straight drive.
It's beautiful.
Orange cones and roadworks.
And the beautiful thing, you have no service, so
actually just pass you a toll pretty when you're trying to come back in.
110 is pretty good. Right?
110 is pretty good, right? It's 130. So when so when you're doing that, okay, so we've accessed that. So what do you think happens then where out of nowhere, these phone calls can take place or whatever, right? Whether it be a breakthrough or another thing to navigate. What do you think? And like for you guys as well, like what do you think happens? So I'm doing it. I'm in this vehicle and I've made some movement. Okay, and you talked about rapid eye movement and everything like that. Yeah. But then what else is happening? What causes that, do you reckon?
Who knows, man? There's so many different aspects of it. I mean, you could look at you could even go down the path of like Dr. Joe and like accessing different states of being. And it's like you could have created a potential, but if you only sat here and did nothing about it and took no action, there's no way that anything is ever going to change, right?
That kind of makes sense.
Because you're in the place of movement, maybe it's just like giving yourself an opportunity to tap into that new potential, or manifestation. It's like you're creating a space in your mind where for you, it could just be you personally.
Yeah.
You personally have created an association that when you drive, things happen. So
See, I kind of wonder sometimes too, if when you move, if I move to the left, something's got to also move from there, maybe towards my way, or something has to shift. So maybe are we also, when we make movements, are we causing shifts in some way, shape or form? If I move this way, then the conversation comes this way.
Yes, I mean, it's obviously like butterfly effect type scenarios, right? Butterfly flaps its wings and the tornado happens on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
You can say the same thing about speech, voicing into the world. That's why it's called spelling, because it's a spell that you're putting out, you're casting, right? It's the words. So whatever you're speaking into intention is actually creating the vibrational aspect of what you're bringing in. And it's like, manifestation itself is just a breakdown of yourself to change up to the vibration level of re-changing your reality around you that becomes your future, where it's just your everlasting present, right? So as Ryan said, there's lots of different scopics you could look at with this. I mean, for you personally, it could be just, hey, look, when you're starting to create an intention with something and you're starting to create that actual vibration, quantum field, whatever you want to call it, you're creating that version of yourself that you actually now reality is moving around you and actually it's starting to happen. It's that tapping in, or you're tapping into the thing that was already happening anyway through intuition. So that phone call was coming in and that's actually seaming you up to actually start to create about that program pathway. So it could be coming from the other way. It's like that scene on The Matrix, when he's bending the spoon and he says, don't try and bend the spoon. He's like, bend the reality around the spoon.
Yeah,
so it's the same motion. Yeah. It's everything around here is individual, but it's all connected, right? And so when you're sitting in the process of co-creating, and this is why birth and rebirth and death are all the same thing, because with every living death, the rebirth happens, because the rebirth is happening, but whilst the reality around you is changing. It's not the other way around, And then you could just be getting more clued in. You've given yourself more space in the car to not have any more nonsense around or distractions, so you can actually be on that thing, and then you can actually feel that call coming in before it happens, the intuition's happening or whatever it is. It's just like whatever your belief structure system is going to be right.
Yeah.
So whatever you believe will be,
That's true.
So then that will be the thing and the reason why that happened.
Yeah.
And about positive vibration, right? And so when you've got that positive vibration going on, now you're seeing, hey, that was an awesome phone call. Whereas when you're stale and you're not moving, and you're just focusing on the fact that there's not, the phone calls that are coming in.
For sure.
You're feeling better. And when I think about as a teenager and when I was going through my challenges and wondering why I was different, and then I got into my sport where every single day I had to be moving in order to train, in order to get to the world champs and aspire to Paralympics. But it was that training and that constant movement that could change perception of cerebral palsy from being, from just looking at it totally different. And so, and then capturing those awesome moments that come from movement. And I was driving home from Hamilton. We all go to Hamilton a lot, right?
Yeah, we do.
And it's like, it's like a 1 hour drive, 1.5 hour drive. And also my wife, she was like, why did it take you 5 hours to get home from Hamilton? Because I'm a guy that when I'm moving and someone comes in, I want to record a moment as well. So I'll actually pull over and go, this is a good space. Write it down, and I can now relax that I've got that idea. Then I'm moving. And when I get to the petrol station and it's fired off again. They're capturing that stuff, journaling is.
That's cool, man.
I love that.
What do you think motivated you to pursue what you pursued?
And back in the day?
Yeah, back in the day. Like, what's changed for you? What shifted in you to be like, nah, there's something more to life. There's something in me. It's like a walnut, right? And it's or like even like an acorn actually, and it's like, what was that moment when it just split open and you sort of morphed into who you were meant to be? You know what? I was always believing in the creativity that existed. So going to primary school, like I always had loads of friends, and I remember I'd been sitting on that wooden school floor in assembly, your bum's going numb, and you're like, how do I get through this bit, right? And I'd imagine myself
been in the Navy or been in the Army and going on these massive missions and just never saw any reason why that wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Why that could not happen.
For
and
sure.
so as I then got older, it was like, well, there's no reason why I can't be an athlete. There's no reason why I can't be a speaker.
So it's a beautiful, I love it, man, because you obviously didn't have people in your life telling you couldn't do things. So you must have had super supportive parents, I'm guessing, that were like, man, you can do whatever you need to do, you know? Like the story wasn't implanted into you that this was a disability. This is just you and whatever you wanted to do, you could make happen.
It's giving me goosebumps. I mean, when you go in partnership with someone like Joe, and I know that when I get in front of people, people will see the differences. And I just want to acknowledge you right now, bro, because, you know, I always feel Joe's really proud to be around me, as with a whole lot of people. And again, it's that energy and it's that vibration. And it's definitely been around positive people. And I actually think there's a lot more positive people in this world than negative people. And definitely the ones in which you want to be around.
Yeah, totally. Well, the minorities are the loudest, man. You know, and that's how we are in this world right now. But the people who are like us, we're just getting on and doing shit. You know,
I feel like we're just
too busy to make noise.
Yeah, too busy. Like we're creating our communities. We're creating our positive marks on the earth because it's like the rest is nonsense.
But that's where it comes back to having those values, right? And whether you know it or not. And that's what's allowing you to step into this crazy studio here in Ponchemy and be like, let's go and do this. You know, because it's the willingness when you've got that value of going, okay, the world's giving this to me for a reason, and if I embrace this moment right now, who knows what it's going to lead on to? If you haven't got that value, you don't see what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I think it's a trained muscle, basically, of like, oh, there's an opportunity here, because opportunities are endless, constantly. There'll never be lack of opportunity, right? But if there's opportunity there, it's the courage to step into the opportunity.
Big time.
You know? And this is where constant courage being built through whatever we're doing in life. Because you could just be like, I'm okay, like, I won't disturb you guys, like, it's all good. You know, like, that's how most people are. Like, no, it's all good, you know? Especially in New Zealand, it's a very Kiwi standoffish culture.
Absolutely,
Oh, guys, you know, like, people pleasing, you know?
Yeah.
We noticed that yesterday, we're running a workshop, and you get to that point where it's like, okay, everyone can just, you know, share what you're proud of.
Cool.
It's hard to get what you think we'd say in that situation, whereas a lot of people are, what am I, and people start looking at their feet.
It's interesting. Well, I mean, that's can be the tall poppy syndrome, you know? It's like, it's hard to be someone in New Zealand because you don't want to put your head out too far. Right, because there's so many people that are waiting to chop you down. To have something to say negative about you for being authentic, for being yourself, and for having the courage to put yourself out there.
And that's why I think, actually, for all of us here, I think that's why we are already on the road to success. But I actually think that we're already successful just for that in itself. The ability to just go, you know what, we're just going to do this. Because, like, you know, we've mentioned so many times, like, I've got a dental care company and I'm not a dentist. You can imagine we were talking about imposter syndrome and we're talking about these things through the workshop, the amount of questions that I've had in the past around that. But you're not, but you can't, but why would you? And it's like, but hold on, but if you have, like you guys were talking about the values and something that sits deep and you want to create impact and you see what you vision for your life is not where you are right now, like just that alone is enough to... like it defines you. It separates you from the rest. It's just that in itself, right? I was going to ask you guys, so obviously with your parents and like you had that encouragement, right? Which was like, and you got the egg and spoon race, right? And your dad was like, you can do this. And you had that investment and so many friends and everything like that. I want to ask you guys too, like, man, did you guys ever deal with any form of trauma, or was it just like it just kind of worked and you just, you know, parents were in your corner in the ring going, you got this, and you went, yeah, of course I've got this. Take it away when you guys like, let's
86 episodes of the Journey podcast.
Everybody
let's see if we can line it up.
Then to that, tell me then also how then, if you worked and navigated through trauma, what was that moment where you were like, it's all or nothing. Like this is it, man. This is it.
I think let's just define the term trauma. I think for real quickly, like trauma is a traumatic state. I think for the word itself, I think when people hear it, they think, oh God, you've got to have some sort of SA abuse, from an uncle behind a shed, like all that sort of stuff. Like, I think a traumatic experience is anything that has put you into a fight or flight response state. You start breathing into the top of your chest rather than into your diaphragm, Okay. So this could be, this could be a little institution within your family that maybe your parents didn't give you the love that you were wanting as a kid, and that can be a traumatic response. So I think let's just clear it out as trauma itself. So we all have trauma. We all have it, The amount of times I've sat in front one-on-one with a rebirthing client and like, oh, my childhood was great. I did this, and parents all that. I'm like, that's cool. No worries. Let's dive a little deeper. There's always going to be something. Yeah. But I think on an actual, what the question that you're asking is, definitely. Like I've gone through lots in my life. Like some of my earliest memory is when I was 5 and my little brother died, and I woke up to my mum crying on the stairs, and we were in the same room there. So he died of cot death. They used to call it cot death back then. I think it's called SIDS now. And so he was 19 months old. His name was Stephen. So we went through all of that. And then my sister, she was born with a thing called Cruzon syndrome. So that was... she also had a stillborn twin as well, which we had to go through as a family. Yeah. And so that was just, she was constantly in hospital. They even did like a 60-minute like documentary on our family and things growing up, because one of her procedures was one of the first in the world to be done on someone like that. So to like implant these brackets underneath her skin and on her skull. And mum and dad used to have to turn these big things that stuck out with a key, and would like, her face was cracked, so it would like pull out a millimeter, start giving her eye sockets and eye bones. So we had to deal with that. She had a tracheotomy, all of that stuff. So very stressful time. Dad was a cop as well, and then my mum was just my mum. She's had a lot of trauma in her life as well, and just trying to navigate all of that. So, and then the lots of ins and outs throughout life. Yeah. Parents getting divorced and all that, and this, everything that kind of fell through there. So, it's all been beautiful ammunition for me to experience, that's one way of putting it, and go through and alchemize and see it as a beautiful gift of, I chose all of this. I chose to incarnate this. I chose my parents when I came to this incarnation for my own karmic reason. And it has emboldened me and empowered me and turned me into the man I am today, because I got to revisit all of that pain and all of that trauma that was stuck within my nervous system and my cellular structure, and I got to breathe it through and sit with ayahuasca and sit with psilocybin and all these beautiful plant medicines, and showed me the reasons and the lessons from all of that. So how has it got me back here? It's been a beautiful scope of alchemy, and that's just a brief version of it. But there's obviously the ins and outs and the constant capriciousness of, like family dynamics and all of that gets stuck within ourselves, that turn us into who we are as well. And, and then obviously all the mother-father wound stuff that we all hold as well, trying to settle all of that.
But I love that, that use of the word alchemy, and going back to you asking me the question of, what did you do and what decisions I made? It was that alchemy. Like, you can choose to see this however you want to see it, what you want to make it into. And you were saying that about what happened to you in 2020 and 2021, with your daughter. Yeah. And,
I think, for us, we lost a daughter through stillbirth as well. Yeah. And it's just one of those things that you can either look at it as, it's interesting, like how you can view it and how you can use it to fuel the next season in your life as well.
It's all your choice on how you view it.
That's the thing, right?
That's actually the work. It's understanding that it's all your choice. And so you're not now just this plastic bag being blown in the wind of life and it's a victim the whole time. It's actually like, you see it as however you want to see it. It still doesn't change and excuse the grief and the pain that you go through, but it changes the aspect of your life. For sure. You're now not a victim to the thing. You see it as growth.
Do you know what? Just real quick, because I want to hear your side of it too. A couple of things just come to mind. Firstly, something I've been thinking about is I I feel like sometimes in many ways, you guys are building an incredible brand, incredible values, and I just know just by talking with you guys, man, like the outcome. And I know you're not about necessarily the results and the outcomes of things. It's the journey of things. I understand that, but who you are as a man, like that foundation of having what your mum went through, powerful. I'm not going to get into it right now. I feel like I could cry on it, but
yeah, totally, man.
Yeah, but what she, what she went through.
Oh man, big time, and I've had to visit it properly over and over again. And you think you got it, and then you got to revisit it on another arm of your trauma tree within your scope of life, man. And like, I didn't have a relationship with my mother for a long time because I had to put her at arm's length because of how she was in the world and for who she was and all of her own trauma. But like, I've been in the beautiful process now. I've actually got to rebirth Breathwork her, and she's now seen this the other way of living, and she's still in all her trauma and all that sort of stuff. But I've got to a point of my own healing where I can love them for who they are, and I'm not. There's no triggering because of how they are.
And I just think that like what she went through and the platform that was created by circumstance that she never knew was happening.
Yeah.
Like she didn't know what was going to happen. These things happen, but she navigated it. She worked it through. She saw it. You talk so much about perception and how we can work that through. And just having a son like you to step up and to carry the torch.
It took me a long time to step up, though.
Yeah, but you're doing it. Yeah, you're doing it, dude. Like, just celebrate that.
Yeah,
that's I just want to honor that.
Man.
Honor you.
I just want to honor that. Like, for sure. I just want to honor that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. What about you, man?
So I guess trauma affects people in so many different ways. So for me, I was the kid that used to throw books and desks across classrooms. I was that kid. We all had that kid in the class, right?
Yeah.
I was just an extremely angry little kid.
Yeah.
And
he was my best mate, by the way.
It was your best mate?
Yeah.
I always only had one friend.
Yeah. It's an ability to see, though, eh?
Yeah, totally.
Because to everyone else, you would have been that little shit.
Yeah, for sure.
Or a bad kid, or a naughty kid, don't bite him over.
Yeah.
You were just in a different place.
I was in a different place and in a different world. And I like looking at and understanding the way in which I understand the world now is just that I just seen the world in a completely different way. Me going through that was based on birth trauma that I had, where I got caught on my mum's hip bone, and it actually stopped like the synovial fluid from circulating around my brain. So I just like constantly had a headache when I was really younger. And it wasn't until the age of 7 where I went and seen an osteopath, and they did like one adjustment. And my mum said like overnight I was just a completely different kid, which was great, but there was still 7 years of things that I had to make up for realistically. And then there was high school and things to navigate where I still had those beliefs where I was a bad kid or didn't fit in. So it was really, really challenging to me. I had friends, but it never really went to the depth of those levels, simply because I just seen the world in a slightly different way. There was a bigger purpose and a bigger meaning to it all, and I just couldn't grasp a lot of the things that other people were putting energy into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you kind of often feel like you're a little bit kind of was there a difference with you? Did you know that when you were younger, and were you thinking about, like, I know you kind of mentioned earlier that you weren't necessarily thinking about business, but I don't know, were you just kind of thinking different and you saw the world a little bit different?
I still think I don't recognize and understand that I see the world differently. Like, I'm just
because you just know what you know.
I just know what I know and pursuing what I'm pursuing, and understanding that there is no right or wrong way to see the world or do the world or do life. And as I say, like, go to that acorn, like, well, there's a destiny for us all. It's just whether or not people step up to it or people shy away from it, and whether or not they allow themselves to bloom into a beautiful oak tree, or they just choose for life to be the mundane.
Love it.
And as Mike says, like, we're both chasing a really, really big life. I want to explode that acorn as many times as possible through the birth and re-death process. There's there's a lot of people out there who have already died but are still breathing. You know, they've chosen to like just live a mundane life, to do the 9 to 5, to not pursue what their heart's desires, to not understand what their values and beliefs are, instead of actually being like, nah, I want to live. Like, there's so much life to live. There's so many things to pursue and so many things to experience.
Yeah. And you can be influenced by those who surround you, you know, but it's also always about the decision that you make. You know, people will often ask, who was it? What was it? And I've seen people go to amazing schools and go different ways. I've seen people have amazing parents and go different ways. And it's what you choose to do.
Totally.
Yeah. And I just want to say a big thank you for being here and meeting you, because I'm dead serious. Of my mate at primary school, he was a kicker like it. And he came to school and he'd have nails in his feet. He was tough as. Yeah. And literally a nail in his foot one day. I was like, what the heck? Yeah. And he'd build like he'd build trash cans next to his schoolyard so that I could climb up on that rubbish, right?
I bet he's so creative.
He was.
Yeah. But he's just an artist who's lost in the world.
Yeah, but the principal, so this is a primary school, said to my mum and dad, why do you let that boy into your house? He is disgusting. Yeah. Right? It gives me goosebumps now just thinking about his mum was an alcoholic. He had siblings that didn't care about him. And you just hope that along that journey, not everyone was that Mr. Spotswood that told him he couldn't, but he found some people to turn out, you know, entrepreneuring and changing lives.
He had you, brother, and that's formidable. And that actually shows the person who you are and the values that your family had. Yeah. To be like, to not see and judge someone based on the experience that they were born into and who they are. It's just like, no, there's actually... There's care in it. Like I just want to give this person love, which is beautiful. Yeah,
and I feel like that's impressions too, right? That will never leave them.
For sure.
I feel like that will stay with them.
Yeah,
you don't know the impact of that today, but that would have. It stays.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah,
what we all do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but that's why we're all here. You know? I guess we're all here because we wanted to make an impact in a different way. That's why we have the courage to put ourselves out there.
Yeah, for sure. Thing. Yeah. I've put myself way out there.
You did. Yeah.
But it was interesting watching that journey, and actually, like Ryan was saying before, like just being a truly authentic human and going into like the mainstream media type scenario and just watching what happened. It was a fun game to dance in. Well, it wasn't fun at the time. It got me. I dropped into some deep depression for a little bit there, but that was my journey to go through as well. Yeah. You know, and it showed me parts of myself that I need to look at and feel. Yeah. But yeah, like, and this is like definitely my biggest call to people was just be the biggest version of yourself as you possibly can. You know, because none of it matters anyways, you know? Yeah. None of this even matters. None of this has any meaning unless you put any meaning to it. So when you look at that, ipso facto, that the meaning you give to things is the only actual meaning. So like if you give meaning to looking at world as a victim, it's like, well, that's what will be. If you give meaning to seeing the world of change, then you will have meaning in that, you know, and it's about finding meaning. It's the purpose of what you're doing. It's in the search of meaning, because you're never going to find it, but that's actually the coaxial cable of life, right? It's in the search of meaning. Yeah. You know, it's like, that's the game.
And that can be different for every single person. Yeah. You know, meaning for us is to support people through the heavy challenges that they went through life. You know, meaning for you is about giving people a place to have like healthy teeth, healthy gums, and the impact that has on people.
And to have a voice, man.
Yeah, and have a voice.
I think it's like my biggest thing.
Cool.
Yeah. I want the people who are the outcasts and the people that have been put aside to have a voice. I want them to feel like, you know what, you've got this, and you know, and that's the whole reason behind the business from my standpoint. You know, it's just to have a voice and to actually be able to do something, and to know that absolutely you can overcome obstacles and challenges. And it sounds funny because it comes from a dental point of view.
Yeah, for sure.
But my role within that
Cool.
is literally spending time with those students and spending time with staff members and spending time with schools and just always encouraging them in the best way that you can. Just to say, like, how are you going and what are you struggling with at the moment?
Yeah.
And I tell you, if you can have a guy like myself that is building what I'm building, I'm telling you, you can 10x that deal. Like, I'm sweating you can 10x that deal.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how you get them through the doorway, you just get them through the doorway.
Totally.
Because the tools are the same behind it either way.
Yeah.
It's just the language and the opportunity is different to
Absolutely.
get somebody through the door.
Yeah. And I think that goes to meaning and goes to that purpose, right?
Yeah.
It's creating, that's what business is. Business for me isn't just a transaction. It's not just about like, cool, we're making some dollars in the account, or we're doing this, or this happened and that happened. It's like the people we connect with and just being here today.
Totally.
Is that not what this is? Whole thing.
Yeah.
We came here with nothing and we will leave with nothing.
Yeah, for sure.
If for just the relationships that we built along the way.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
And that's a pity or something to leave with.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
for sure.
we could have literally walked past each other in the driveway, in between these meetings, made some assumptions, look at these good looking roosters, and but not knowing the story. And within 40, just looking at the time, 50 minutes and 42 seconds, we've shared this, right?
Yeah.
And we've realised we've got more in common than we thought.
Yeah.
And we've got these things that can work together on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all that is taken, talking, listening.
I think that's the arrogance of human, right? We all think that we are the only person going through and had the experiences that we've had. And this is where community is so big, so huge, because, and I guess like the practice of vulnerability, of sharing and communicating is lumped in with that as well. Because when people feel like they are alone, they feel like they're the only person that are going through their own thing. And that's actually a very egotistical, arrogant thing that our ego does to ourselves. It's like, no one else has ever gone through what you've done.
Sure.
But when you actually start to have a group environment, you can share, or even like have a podcast where people can listen to, especially us here, it's like 4 amazing men, just having an open conversation. There might be some other men or people and just watching us open up and go, oh shit, I recognize myself in you and in you and in you and in you. Oh, I'm not so alone here. I'm not so unique. Oh man, these guys have all had things going on. It's like that's actually just the true message. It's like everyone's had shit, like no one's alone in this. No one's unique. I had a beautiful quote from ayahuasca maestro that we're both fortunate enough to sit with over the years. And he goes, you are all special, but you're not unique. And that's just sat with me. It's like, none of us are unique, but we're all special,
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think I've got to be on stage in 2 hours giving a speech.
So this is your warm-up, man.
I think that will be my drop, So, guys, thank you so much for stepping into this opportunity today. I think we could keep going, and I'd love to bring it up in the future, but just wishing you all the best for Beta.
Yeah.
And thank you for your awasomeness today.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are legends.
Yeah, thank you guys for the time and the curiosity. Usually it's us on the other end, so it was nice to kind of have a little bit of more of an interview style on our end, sharing our story and to a different audience, which is great.
Oh yeah, man. Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah, thanks guys. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Great.